You hear that?
Subaru! Yes!
At long last, ReZero has officially returned. It's been years. It's been a very long time since Season 1 came out, and at long last, Season 2 is here. The first episode of Season 2, and we have had ReZero content here and there, like 2 OVAs have came out in the time span between Season 1 and Season 2, but overall, there really hasn't been a whole lot. Many of us have waited so long for this, and I was one that couldn't really wait. I caved in. I had to read the web novel because I was really wanting to know what was going to happen just because of how amazing that conclusion was to Season 1 of ReZero. And I will say that after reading the web novel, I was even more interested in how the anime would be because of just the content that is going to be within this season. And I can just definitely say, as someone that has read the web novel, this is fantastic. This episode is absolutely fantastic. It captured everything. Everything that matters. All the little emotions, the little nods between the characters, the eye movement to the way the characters express themselves. There is so much attention to detail within this first episode that honestly, if I had any doubts, they're completely gone. I barely had doubts to begin with, but just seeing how the quality of this episode was and just the amount of effort they went in to putting these little Easter eggs here and there throughout the episode. I saw that Easter egg, by the way, and I'll get in that in a second, but I mean, just seeing how much effort they actually went out of their way to put into this, it's in good hands, and it's clear that the team that worked on ReZero really does love this series. It wasn't a fluke. It wasn't something to where it was just a one-off thing that, oh, you know, it's just a one season, you know, it's good here, and then season 2 is gonna degrade in quality. It's clear that this first episode retains that quality and honestly amplifies it even to a higher level, because when you really think about everything, all the knowledge we have from season 1 and going into this episode, it really adds so much more. There's so much meaning within this first episode. It's honestly a very heavy episode of ReZero Season 2. For a first episode, many are gonna be like, holy crap, it doesn't really hold back at all, does it? It's literally just throwing you in to a dark hole right now, because it's just like, holy crap, Subaru's back in it again. He's literally suffering, and there's nothing he can do about it. So I guess this is a perfect segue to talk about that. So, there is one thing that I've always seen since ReZero aired. When I first got into it, and I was reviewing it many years ago, and ever since that time, and even up to this very day, many have said that, okay, you know, yes, it's sad what Subaru's going through, but at the end of the day, everything's gonna be, you know, alright. Everything's gonna turn out alright because Subaru just has to use his power, return by death, and everything works out. He just needs to end it all, and it's okay. But this episode makes it very clear that that is not the answer for everything, and I think that's a major tone shift. I think many are gonna be absolutely shocked to find out that Subaru can't fix everything. There is actually things that he cannot fix. Now, this has already kind of been dived into a little bit. When you think about what happened in the middle of Season 1, when Subaru had that whole embarrassing act in front of the Capitol, when he was making a fool of himself and embarrassing Emilia, saying he was a knight and kind of disrespecting all the knights and Julius and all of them, he already kind of realized that his power can not be used for everything. But he never realized that his power could actually stop him from saving people. And in this case, there is nothing he can do. It's completely out of his hands, out of his power to be able to save Rim at this moment. There's nothing he can do. He can't reset and try to redo everything that happened at the end of Season 1. There's nothing he can do. Rim is gone. She's gone. Nobody remembers her, and she's just literally a husk, a sleeping beauty just sitting there. And it's an incredibly impactful message, letting you know that Subaru cannot overly rely on return by death, because if someone dies or something really bad happens, there's a part to where maybe his checkpoint updates and he can't get those people back. So, in all honesty, it's sad what happened to Rim. It honestly hurts, and I'm going to get into that. It really hurts. But when you think about it, in the grand scheme of things, after everything that happened with the whole witches cult that happened in the Season 1, he's thankful that he didn't get a checkpoint at a worse moment. Like, it could have been a lot worse when you think about it. He could have got a checkpoint after the whole situation with Emilia, when he tried to tell her by, return by death, and she died. It's very possible he could have got a checkpoint there, but thankfully, he did not. So, what I'm trying to say is that Subaru clearly, he now realizes that there's just some things that he cannot change, and he has to live with this repercussion of his actions, his decisions, and it's not something that he could just fix by words alone. He now has a great enemy, which has already been his enemy for a very long time, the Witch's Cult, but now he has even more of a reason to go after the Witch's Cult because of what they just did to Rim, and you gotta wonder, like, if he goes after, the Sin Archbishop of Gluttony, could he potentially fix Rim? Is this his objective? Is that what he's going to be trying to strive to achieve in the upcoming arcs of ReZero? So yeah, it's an incredibly impactful moment, and just seeing how now people will have to eat their own words, thinking that Subaru can fix everything, that's not the case. And I think it's a perfect way to really open up this arc of ReZero, really letting you know that Subaru isn't the answer for everything with his power. So, let's back up for a second, and let's talk about the Rim stuff. So, obviously, Rim is gone, and I know this is going to come as a huge shock. It's going to hurt, because Rim is a very popular character. I have memed the crap out of her, I admit. But even then, I meme it because that's just how I am. But it doesn't change the fact, though, that Rim is a very powerful and important character to the story, and I think that she's a fan favorite for many. She's one of my favorite characters of ReZero, and after everything that happened in ReZero Season 1, seeing what Subaru had to go through and how she helped him out to be where he's at from, the starting point from zero, when you think about everything, it makes sense why this is going to make many sad. Losing a character like Rim is incredibly impactful, because without her, Subaru wouldn't be who he is today. He wouldn't be someone that is actively changing and becoming a better person. We wouldn't have had that character development in Season 1 if it wasn't for Rim. So when you just look at all these things, seeing what just happened is just, it really makes your heart just sink. You're like, holy crap, this just happened, and she's gone. Like, she's not going to be in this season, most likely. She's just going to be a sleeping beauty, and that's it. So, yeah, and I just want to point out that you got to imagine from her perspective of how she really cared for Subaru in those moments before everything was lost. And I like that brief Easter egg, and this is when I'm going to finally get into that. There was an Easter egg, and when she was losing everything, like her final thought in her head when everything went dark, like she lost all of her memories and she became a husk, she thought about her future self with Subaru. You see a brief image flash while Gluttony's coming in to steal everything from her, and you see an image of a older Rim with a child in her arms. This is actually an Easter egg to Rim If. It's a side story, a spin-off side story of Rim being with Subaru. I actually kind of talked about this in my Season 1 reviews. I talked about this around episode 18 or 19 of ReZero of my reviews a long time ago, basically saying that there was a what-if story of Subaru actually going with Rim and not trying to save Emilia, leaving her behind, and, them having kids. And that whole little image actually was kind of like a nod to that. It was a nod to the what-if story of Rim and Subaru, but it's more than that too, though. That image was the last thing that Rim thought of before it was gone. She was completely gone. She thought of Subaru, she thought of her future with him, and she desperately in her final moments believed that he would save her. He would be her hero. And this kind of really shows, though, she admires him and knows in the end Subaru will do something. He will do something. She may not know how, but he will do something to be her hero and take out all the witches, archbishops. She knows it. And it's really sad. Like, it's super sad just seeing her struggle, thinking about everything that she has achieved and how Subaru has helped her, and, just seeing her struggle against two opponents that honestly, when you really look at their powers, they're even more impressive maybe than Beetlejuice himself, Petalogius, and it's just like, how are you supposed to fight this? I mean, let's actually analyze that for a second. So, we're introduced to not one, but two Sin Archbishops, which, as a reminder, if you remember my boy Beetlejuice from the previous season, he was difficult to take out. You remember how much effort Subaru had to put into bringing that man down? It was such a struggle. And he even contemplated, and he was frightened in this episode of even having to reset to potentially fight him again just because of how scary he is. But you now have two Sin Archbishops that just appear at once, and we don't even know what kind of powers they have. Like, when you look, let's say, Regulus, you see how he's just standing in the middle of the road, and these carriages are going straight at him, and they disintegrate completely around him, turn to just particles all around him, and it's just like, what did he just do? Then you have, Lay, the Gluttony, Sin Archbishop of Gluttony. He is just like devouring people's names and devouring their memories, and he's super strong, obviously, so you're just like, how are you supposed to fight that? Someone that literally attacks your very core as a person, like your soul itself, how are you supposed to fight that? Because could Subaru even fight that? Like, if Gluttony was to get his hands on Subaru, could Subaru survive his memories being eaten away? Would he just become a husk like Rim, or would he die? It's just a major question mark. You're like, what would happen in that circumstance? Would Subaru reset, or would he not? And just these archbishops are obviously incredibly powerful, and it makes you look at, Petalogius as a joke. Like, is he... he's kind of a joke in comparison to what we just witnessed. Like, yes, we've seen Rim fight against, Petalogius in the first season, and she didn't really do so well. We know what happened. It became a little bit of a twister, and it's just like, this was even more one-sided. There was literally nothing she could do. I mean, Crusch had her arm literally completely severed off without even being near one of them, and it makes you wonder, is that like an unseen hand? Like, is it like what Petalogius was using in the first season, like how the hands came out of his back and how he was able to attack from a far distance? Is that what happened? Do they have a similar power, or is there something else that they're using? So many questions. But okay, so getting into the main point, though, Rim, she's gone, and Subaru has to live with these consequences, and we can kind of see a crucial moment of Subaru's psyche that plays in a major part in this episode, is that he sees Rim, and he realizes there's just so much loss. So many people have died. There's nothing he can do, and he's like, I know the answer. I can just end it all. Just be done with it. If I be done with it, I can reset and fix this entire situation. This scene is very powerful because he's like, I'll have to fight this monster again, Petalogius. I'll have to do that. And you could see the terror, like just the animation and the expression of the voice really just demonstrates the absolute terror that he does not want to fight that man again. But he's like, no matter what, no matter how many times I have to do it, I will do it over and over again if it means I can save you. And so he commits the act, but then reality sets in, and he can't do nothing. He's at a new checkpoint, and he's in a cart with Emilia, and basically, she doesn't know who Rim is. So no matter what he does, he will not be able to make it in time to be able to save her, which is one of the saddest things about this, and it's kind of like Subaru's sanity started to crack in that moment, because he's always been a character that's afraid of dying, and I know many always like to say, like, oh, at this point, shouldn't you get used to dying, because, you could come back over and over. Look, the main point of what this series is trying to express is that Subaru is human. He's not strong. He is a ordinary human being thrown into a fantasy world, and the whole point of season 1 was making it as, him assume that he was an MC that deserved everything, but in reality he didn't, and he's kind of had a huge wake-up call, and he doesn't want to die. Even though he knows he comes back, he doesn't want to die, and having him just get rid of himself when he wants to is just not something that he wants to do. But you could see that his sanity slowly started to warp in this episode, because he was willing to commit that act as many times as he had to just to be able to save her. So it says enough. It really says enough about the situation that Subaru is slowly starting to feel the effects of Return by Death, and how his psyche is slowly being twisted to a very scary degree. There's also another thing I would like to add on to this, if you did not notice. There was a lot of scenes where Subaru was just looking at a knife near apples. There was a few scenes like this, actually, throughout the episode, and it's very clear what Subaru is thinking, and I think just the image speaks louder than words. He was obviously thinking about how his return by death can't actually do anything, and if it could, he would do it right then and there. You could just see he's reflecting on it, which also shows how cracks are forming in his sanity. One of the big things about this episode, too, is Emilia, and I think many are going to be shocked as well about Emilia's character, because when you think about the entirety of Season 1, Emilia wasn't really useful. Like, okay, she was useful. She's technically the main female character, but when you think about everything, she didn't really have a lot of character development and characterization. For a good reason, honestly, because it wasn't her time to shine. It was mainly about Subaru and him overcoming his issues. And if Emilia technically was in the way, Rim probably wouldn't have had as much time to shine. And now that Rim is out of the way, Emilia has to kind of take that role as a support character for Subaru, because when you think about it, Rim was always the one watching over Subaru, helping him out behind the scenes, and now Emilia technically has to take that role. That entire ending sequence of this episode is pretty much a nod to that, is that now that Rim is gone, Emilia has to take that place. She has to help out Subaru in his time of need, be someone that he can talk to, someone that he can cry with, etc. Be his actual self, not lie to and all that, and Emilia realizes this weight. It's a nice role reversal, honestly, because it's just like, we're so used to Subaru having to help her out, keep her safe, pamper her like a princess, but then you see how technically he's the one crying this episode, super sad, and Emilia is the one to really comfort him. It's just a nice feeling, honestly, just to see Emilia actually have that level of development. She got a lot of development in this episode, and I think many are gonna like her a lot after this, and it's just like, yeah, I get ready for that, because now that Rim's out of the picture, obviously, we're gonna have more Emilia now, because what's Rim gonna do? Just sit there asleep? I mean, that's all she's gonna be doing for an unknown amount of time. So, okay, let's talk about the memory loss and how it affects Crusch and how it, affects Subaru's camp and all of that. Hopefully I said her name right. If I said it wrong, please forgive me. But basically, we know how Wilhelm and, Felix and, Crusch also helped out Subaru against the White Well and what happened at the end of Season 1. Obviously, thanks to these actions of Wilhelm going out of his way to help out Subaru, Felix as well, they weren't really able to protect Crusch and, save her from her memories being stolen. So you gotta imagine, from their perspective, they feel responsible. They feel like they failed their master. Someone that helped them be where they're at, they failed their master. They did a major disservice. And they don't have that power like Subaru does. See, Subaru, he's experienced failure many times, yes, but he's always been able to correct it to a certain degree. And obviously, other characters, they don't have that luxury. Wilhelm, Felix, they don't have that luxury of fixing things. And you gotta imagine from their perspective of how powerless they feel. They feel exactly like how Subaru was feeling throughout the entirety of Season 1, and even in this episode, they were feeling powerless because the one they loved, the one that they wanted to be the ruler of the kingdom, is now reset. Their personality is completely gone, and it's just like, what do I do? What do we do? And can we even run for the next ruler because of just how her personality is? She's no longer the same person, and that's kind of what I want to get into. So, obviously, Crusch is not in the same extent as Rim is, because Rim, literally Sleeping Beauty. While Crusch, she just has her memories, but she has people that remember her. So, technically, she can still be around. She still can become a ruler and potentially, become a great person that can lead. But the Crusch that we know is technically long gone and dead. She technically died, because when you think about it, when you remove someone's memories and they're gone completely, are they still the same person? Like, let's think about this, okay? It's a really thought-provoking question. If your memories were completely gone right now, are you still the same person? Are you really the same person? Because technically your experiences, your memories is what makes your personality. It's what makes you you. Your environment does too, but it's a big play. It's a big part to how you grow as a person, what type of person you become. And when you think about how she has been reset, she's no longer the same person. She may have little dregs of who she once was, which is why Felix started to cry, because she noticed the eyes that Crusch was giving, the seriousness in nature, was the old Crusch coming out and showing herself. Her personality was there, the flame in her eyes, and that's why Felix got very sad, because she knew that the one she really cares about isn't fully gone. There is some embers left, but even then, that person is still technically gone and dead. They'll never be the person they once were. And it's sad, honestly, and you can see that Wilhelm really doesn't want to accept that. His overall actions, the way he presents himself, he is definitely on the opposite side of Felix. Felix is someone that doesn't want to see Crusch get hurt anymore. She's just done. Like, my bad. I realized that he's a trap. My bad. But Felix doesn't want to see Crusch actually get hurt. And it's just like, I understand that perspective, but Wilhelm is like, I don't want to see my master like this. I want to get vengeance, and I want to get back at the archbishops that did this and potentially restore who Crusch was. And so you can see that there is kind of like a divide right now between the two characters, Felix and Wilhelm, and how Felix is just happy that she survived, while Wilhelm, he wants vengeance and he wants to get back, which fits with his character. When you think about everything that happened at the end of Season 1 and how he tried to avenge his wife that died, you know, it fits with him wanting to get vengeance. I mean, look what he did to the White Well. I mean, he literally decimated that thing. So imagine what he's going to do if he gets his hands on Gluttony. Yeah, enough said. So, okay, what else is there really left to talk about? I guess, one other little minor detail that does need to be mentioned, though, is kind of what's next, honestly. Now that everything that has happened, you know, what's next for the story? Because, like, now that Rim is in this situation, are they now going to be actively searching down the witch archbishops? Like, are they going to be trying to find them to get rid of them? Or is something else going to happen? You know, it makes you wonder. And will Gluttony kind of come after Subaru? Since technically Gluttony stole Rim's memories, is there some way, some shape or form that maybe Gluttony might have the ability to access those memories and know what Rim was thinking or who Subaru is? And if that is the case, maybe Gluttony might actually hunt after Subaru. So yeah, it's so many questions, honestly, but I think I want to leave it at that. It's a wonderful episode of ReZero. I'm just so happy to have this series back. I'm so happy I could sit down and talk about this fantastic story, because it's just like, it's been too long, and it's one of my favorite anime of all time, and I'm just so happy to have it back. It's a good day because it's back, and man, this makes Wednesdays so good. It's ReZero Day. Can we dub Wednesday ReZero Day? But okay, I love you guys. You have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And with that, Chibi out.